All right, so let's talk Amaryllis. Amaryllis is a flowering bulb that typically comes out in winter around Christmas so that you can get some flowers at Christmas time when, it's dark and not very nice out and there's snow on the ground. You can have a little bit of the tropics inside. This is my first year growing Amaryllis, but I'm super excited about it and I kind of went overboard. I've got 6 of them currently. So I've got the Relona, the Nymph, the Amadeus, Charisma, Papilio, and Gervaise. And then I have like a random bulb kit pink one that I don't really know the name of it, but it's pink and striped. So it'll be very pretty. So I've planted up most of my Amaryllis, but I still have these 3 remaining because I wanted to do 3 bulbs in one pot. And so I made my own custom pot, but I made it a little bit too small and I wasn't able to get 3 of them in there. So I had to make a new one. So I now have this pot, which conveniently actually comes out of its little like decorative holder, which I'll pretend that that was on purpose, but it definitely wasn't. It was just a very happy accident. I have my 3 Amaryllis here, and what I'm going to do is plant these guys up. As a note with your Amaryllis, you're going to want to pick the best bulb possible. So when you're looking for bulbs, you're going to want to be looking for quality roots. So this one came from a kit that it wasn't ideal roots, and you can kind of see that it doesn't have a very great root structure starting out. So it's going to probably be a little bit delayed. It probably won't be as impressive as some of the others. Whereas some of the other bulbs have these massive root structures, which clearly is a much healthier plant. And so it's going to be able to take up water and resources much easier than the others. You do want to check the roots. Like I can see here that some of these have mold on them. So I'm just going to get rid of those because I don't want the plant to have moldy roots in the soil that could just kind of like rot and cause issue. Also, with bulbs, as with everything else, size does matter. So you're going to want to pick the largest bulb you can find because that means it is more mature and also that it has more stored energy in it. So it's going to be able to produce more flowers. So with a larger bulb, you're more likely to get more flower stalks. And additionally, it'll also create these little bulbettes, these little bulbs on the side that are little babies that'll make more Amaryllis in the future that you can break off and plant and grow on their own or leave on this main plant and sort of just get a huge little clump of bulbs going on. With Amaryllis, what you're going to want to do is you want to plant them into your soil and you'll want about 1/3 of the bulbs still showing. These can be very prone to rot, so you want to make sure that you are getting enough soil on them that they'll be able to grow, but not covering them that the bulb's going to rot. You also want to be really careful that you do not water them in the stalk here. It can get down into the bulb and actually cause rot. So do not water into here. I'm going to go ahead and plant my Amaryllis, even though I don't really have soil. Shit. What I'm going to do to plant these is I'm actually going to kind of like mark the spots that I'm looking to put them. And then I'm going to take them out because I want to dig like a little bit of an almost like trough for them so that I can get them in and get those roots in. This one I don't really have to worry about because it doesn't have a great root structure, but I'm going to get that one in there and then I'll just kind of like move that soil to the side. Then for these ones with a larger root structure, I'm actually going to take out a lot more soil and move it over. And then I'm going to plant my Amaryllis in there. And I'm wanting to kind of like spread and spider those roots out so that they're going to be able to suck up that moisture and get those nutrients. They don't like their roots being snapped, so be careful when you're doing this. This one luckily has a very strong root structure, so I'm not like super worried about it, but you're going to want to try and preserve as much of that root structure as possible. So I'm just kind of moving this out of the way so that I can get those roots down into the soil and get them covered up. I'm just going to kind of cover this guy up. Okay. And then, oops, I have my final bulb here. So again, I'm going to take out some of this soil, move it up here, and plant that down in there. Now I'm going to just kind of backfill with my soil here, cover these guys up, making sure that I've got the large portion of the bulb exposed because I don't want that rot to occur. Doop, 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 doop. Those are the sound effects of me covering the roots. All right, so I now have this potted up, and what I'm going to want to do is water it in. So when you first plant your bulbs, you're going to want to give them a very thorough soaking, and after that, you're not going to want to water them until you start to see some growth. So until that thing starts pushing up that flower stalk, you're kind of going to just leave it, so give it a really good soak. I forgot to mention this, but you want to make sure that your pot has really good drainage. Amaryllis do not like wet feet. They will rot. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using has good drainage. I custom designed these pots, so they do have drainage in the bottom with a little integrated drip tray because don't love water just spraying everywhere. So make sure that yours also is going to have drainage. So I'm just going to water this in really well. Whoops. And I'm just avoiding getting any water inside that bulb because, again, I do not want to rot it out. And now that I've kind of put my soil in, it's like pretty recessed, so I'm just going to add a bit more in areas to kind of fill it in. I'm using a tropical mix here because this is a tropical plant, so it wants really good drainage, and so I want to be able to provide that for this plant. So at this point, you're going to want to move your amaryllis. Well, I guess at this point you'd want to wash your hands. But at this point, you're going to want to move your amaryllis to a well-lit space. They're going to want a lot of light and about 20 degrees Celsius so that they can push that growth up and come out of dormancy. You will want them in a really sunny window so that they can do that. And then once the flowers start opening, you're going to want to move them into a cooler, less sunny area so that those flowers can last longer. Once your amaryllis is kind of blooming and growing, you're going to want to make sure that you just keep watering it. You don't want it soaked, but you'll just kind of want it, once it's dried out a little bit, just give it some water like you would with your other tropicals. Let me know if you are growing amaryllis this year. I would love to see photos. It's going to be my first year growing these, and I am so excited to see all of the flowers come up. I'm really hoping to do some fresh cut arrangements with them, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, amaryllis. It's great.